Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rania's podcast. I'm Rania, and I'm really happy to have you here with me for another episode. Today, I want to talk about something that I think we've all experienced: nostalgia. That feeling when you hear a song you haven't listened to in years, when you find an old picture in your camera roll, when you walk past a place you used to know so well, and suddenly you're not here anymore. For a few seconds, you're somewhere else. Somewhere that doesn't exist in the same way anymore. And maybe there's someone there too. Someone you don't talk to anymore. Someone you thought would always be in your life. Or maybe it's just an old version of you. And that's what I want to explore today. Because I've been wondering, what are we actually missing when we say, I miss the past? Do we miss the people, the place, the memories? Or do we miss the person we were when those things were happening? I think one of the strangest things about life is that we almost never know when something is happening for the last time. You don't know that it's your last conversation with someone. You don't know that it's your last summer with a certain group of people. You don't know that you'll never sit in that classroom again. You don't know that one ordinary afternoon will become a memory you'll think about years later. And that's probably why nostalgia can feel so intense. Because when we were living those moments, we weren't trying to memorize them. We were just living. We were laughing, complaining, getting bored, waiting for something better, thinking about tomorrow, and then tomorrow came and eventually becomes years ago. I think that's something we only understand when we grow older. The moments we wanted to rush through can become the moments we wish we could experience one more time. And that's such a strange feeling. But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes when we say, I miss that time, I don't think we actually mean the time itself. Maybe we miss how we felt. Think about an old memory that you really love. Maybe you were with your friends, maybe it was a holiday, maybe you were younger, maybe nothing particularly important happened. But when you remember it, you feel something: warmth, comfort, maybe even sadness. And if you could actually go back to that exact moment, would you really want to? Because you won't be the same person anymore. You will bring everything you've experienced since then with you. The things you've learned, the people you've lost, the things that changed you. You would walk into the same place, but you wouldn't be the same person standing there. And maybe that's why nostalgia hurts. Because we can revisit a memory, but we can never completely revisit the person who lived it. And then there are people. Some people become such a normal part of our lives that we don't even realize how important they are. You talk to them every day, you tell them random things, you know their habits, you know what makes them laugh, you know what they're going to say before they say it. And then, somehow, life changes. Maybe you move, maybe they move, maybe you stop talking, maybe you grow in different directions, or maybe nothing dramatic happens at all. You just drift. And I think drifting apart can sometimes be harder to understand than a clear ending. Because there is no moment where you can say, okay, this is over. It just slowly becomes different. One day, you realize you haven't spoken in weeks, then months, and eventually you see their names somewhere and think, wow, we used to talk every day. And that sentence carries so much inside it. We used to. Two words that can hold an entire chapter of your life. I used to think that if someone really mattered to you, they were supposed to stay. But I'm starting to think that's not necessarily true. Some people can matter deeply, and still not belong in your future. And that doesn't make any relationship fake. It doesn't make the memories less important. It just means that sometimes people are part of a chapter, not the whole story. And I think that's something we struggle with because we want permanence. When something feels good, we want it to stay. When someone makes us feel understood, we want them to always understand us. When we were happy somewhere, we wanted to believe we'll always be happy there. Everything changed, and maybe the goal isn't to hold into everything. Maybe the goal is to let things matter while they're here. But there is one person from the past that we often forget we're attached to: ourselves. The old version of you, the one in those old pictures, the one who had different dreams, different fears, different friends. Maybe you look at that person and think, I miss who I used to be. But sometimes I wonder, do we really miss ourselves? Or do we miss the life that surrounded us at that time? Because you can change and still be yourself. You can outgrow things, change your goals, lose friendships, discover new interests, become more confident, become more uncertain, and still be you. The younger version of you didn't disappear. She just became part of the person you're becoming. And I think we should be kinder to those older versions of ourselves. Instead of looking back and thinking, I wish I was still her, maybe we can say, I'm glad she got me here. There is another thing about nostalgia that I find really interesting. Memory is selective. We don't remember everything equally. We remember the song, the sunset, the laughter, the birthday, the trip, the person, but sometimes we forgot everything around it. The bad days, the arguments, the uncertainty, the reasons we wanted things to change. And that's why sometimes the past looks better than it actually was, because we're remembering it from distance. We're seeing the beautiful parts more clearly, and we're forgetting how complicated it felt to actually live through them. So maybe we shouldn't compare our present to our memories, because we're comparing something we currently experience in full with something we remember selectively, and that's not a fair comparison. So why do we get attached? Why do we keep checking old pictures? Why do certain songs still affect us? Why do we sometimes revisit conversations that happened years ago? I think part of it is because the past is predictable. We know how it ends. But the present doesn't give us that comfort. The present is uncertain. We don't know who will stay. So sometimes our mind goes back to what it already knows. Even if it wasn't perfect. At least we know what happened. And maybe that's why nostalgia can feel comforting. It's a place we've already lived in. But I don't think the answer is to stop remembering. I don't think we need to delete every old picture, stop listening to certain songs, pretend we never cared, or convince ourselves that we don't miss anyone. That's not really letting go. Sometimes letting go is much quieter. It's being able to remember something without needing it to happen again. It's looking at an old picture and smiling. It's hearing a song and thinking, wow, that takes me back. And then the song ends and you keep going. It's remembering someone without needing them to return. It's accepting that something was beautiful and that it was also temporary. Because temporary doesn't mean meaningless. Some of the most important things in our lives are temporary. A summer, a friendship, a school, a conversation, a person, a version of ourselves. Their ending doesn't erase their importance. Maybe we don't need to go back. Maybe we're supposed to take something with us. Maybe the old friendship taught you what kind of connection you value. Maybe that difficult period taught you something about yourself. Maybe that version of you showed you what you want or what you don't want anymore. Maybe the past isn't asking you to return. Maybe it's asking you to remember what it taught you. Because there is a difference between carrying the past and living in it. You can carry memories, you can carry lessons, you can carry love, but you still have to keep moving. And here's the part I keep coming back to. One day, you will probably miss today. Not this exact day necessarily, but this version of your life, the people around you right now, the conversations you're having, the things you're worrying about, the little routines you don't even notice anymore. Maybe one day you'll hear a song from this period of your life, and suddenly you'll be back here and you'll realize, I didn't know I was going to miss this. And that's kind of beautiful, because it means we're always standing inside moments that will eventually become memories. Which makes me wonder, what if we treated today like something worth remembering? Not in a forced way. We don't have to make every day special. We don't have to romanticize our lives. Just notice them. Notice the people. Notice the little conversations. Notice the ordinary afternoons. Because sometimes the ordinary things are exactly what we remember. Finally, maybe nostalgia isn't really about wanting to go back. Maybe it just proved that something once mattered to you. That you loved something enough to miss it. That you were someone different once. That you lived through a chapter that changed you. And maybe that's okay. You don't have to return, you don't have to forget, you don't have to pretend you don't care. You can simply say, that was a beautiful part of my life, and let it stay there. Because not everything beautiful is meant to last forever. Some things are meant to happen, change us, and become memories. And maybe one day, years from now, you'll think about the person you are right now. You remember the things you were worried about, the people you loved, the dreams you had, the little things you thought didn't matter. And maybe you'll wish you could come back for just 1 minute. If that happens, you were leaving it. You just didn't know it was something you'd missed. So maybe don't wait until something becomes a memory to appreciate it. Look around. You're already inside a moment you'll never get back. And maybe that's the real meaning of nostalgia. Not wanting to live in the past, but realizing how important it was to have lived it at all. Thank you so much for listening to Rania's podcast. And wherever you are right now, I hope you stay there for a little while. Be present, notice it, because one day, this moment will be the past you're nostalgic for. I'm Rania, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye everyone!